Hard out for real.
No, I know. We're good. 6 games.
I don't know if that's better or worse.
Worse, but I try to convince myself otherwise.
You're tuned into the Awesemo NBA Strategy Show.
Jordan Klein masking his voice. I love it every single time.
No, that one's Tyler, right?
Is that Tyler?
Yeah. I can't unhear that now. Yeah.
Yeah. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Strategy Show presented by PrizePicks. I'm Dave Loughran at Loughy_D. LOUGHY_D for those of you podcast listeners. Filling in for Adam Scher today. Still a little under the weather, but with me again, back-to-back days. This is fun stuff. Josh Engleman at Josh Engleman. What's good, brother?
Nothing. Well, just to be clear here, your Twitter handle at LaffyD. Did I get that correct?
I thought you were going to say Loughy D from now on.
Ah, shit. I already forgot that's what it was.
Fucked it up already, man.
I'm too tired to care.
Off to a good start.
I legitimately thought I was making that joke, and then I just got it wrong anyway.
I figured that's what you were trying to do. Yeah. I mean,
it's exactly what I was trying to do.
Sometimes they don't land. It's not your fault.
I mean, it landed. I was just wrong. Like it's the right joke. I just ruined it.
It landed like
go ahead.
The Hindenburg.
Wow. Could have gone a couple different directions and came to the
Where
same
would
spot.
you have gone with that?
I'll DM it to you.
I think I have an idea and you cannot make that joke.
No, I certainly cannot.
Just DM it to real quick.
I'm doing that right now.
I'm sure Chad already has a pretty good idea. If I had to guess, yep, that's what I thought. That is not okay.
I might as well send it to Jordan too.
The Hindenburg is
also not good, by the way. He's just less
far
recent.
more appropriate, though.
No.
You ever think to yourself, like, why people say too soon when it's like, people still died in awful, tragic ways?
Jordan just got mine. I mean, look, there's no such thing as too soon to me.
But they're like, give it a month. I don't think that's okay, but that's kind of just standard. That's how it is.
I have no problem with those jokes at any point in time in any way for anything.
But I like dark humor.
I do.
Gallows humor, right? That's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's not going to change.
Happy to have you guys with us, though. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Appreciate y'all. It's 10:03 a.m. on the East Coast. And we're at, 72.2 thousand subscribers. Good stuff. Got 150 in here to kick this off. If you're watching after the stream, too, feel free to leave a comment. I read them all. Try and respond to all of them. I know Josh was reading them, too. You got some interest. Maybe it wasn't you. I thought it was. Yeah, you always got a couple people in there that make things interesting. But, yeah, thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. If you want to join the channel, you can see that down below the thumbs up. Hit that if you want to get the free super chats each month, the custom emojis, sweet badges, and then we'll always prioritize your questions and comments along with our premium Discord members. We got 6 games, man, and we actually do have an 11 a.m. show immediately after this. It's our NFL Strategy Show Pro Bowl edition. with Matt Kajeski and Matt Savoca. So stick around on the channel after that. But what are you thinking about this slate so far? 6 games. Any big stuff we're keeping an eye out for?
Yeah, there's a lot actually. For a second, I thought you were going to ask me about the Pro Bowl. I was going to be like, yeah, man, like I watched that.
I've known you long enough to know that would never be a question that crosses crosses your path.
I barely watch regular NFL games, so there's that. No, we have a lot of news hanging in the balance, whether that's the status of Patrick Beverley and D'Angelo Russell again. We've got potentially Anthony Davis sitting out on a back-to-back. Like, we don't have any reason to suspect that yet, but it is a back-to-back, so who the hell knows? The Spurs are going to be they have Q tags on DeJounte Murray and Derek White. Jakob Poeltl and Jock Landale are both out, so it might be Drew Eubanks day today. We've got some stuff. Miami, half the team is questionable. Like, some of these things we can't even talk about. Some of these things are going to massively dictate the entire slate.
Yeah, how about Isaiah Jackson yesterday? 22 seconds.
I'm so happy I didn't play yesterday's slate.
Oh, okay, you did? You didn't?
No, nothing.
I had a real temptation to get some Terry Taylor in there, not because of any like thoughts of injury, but just, hey, maybe the guy goes out and plays another 20 plus minutes and is okay and he's dirt cheap. But there ended up being a decent enough amount of value that you didn't really have to go there. And he had a big game. I
was probably like, oh God, I don't even know what time it was because I don't know what time that game tipped off, but like not too far after he got hurt. Searching Isaiah Jackson on Twitter was one of the happier things that I've ever experienced. And not because Isaiah Jackson got hurt, but listening to all the whiny losers on Twitter tweeting at FanDuel, like FanDuel owes them something for Isaiah Jackson getting hurt. Oh, actually, my God.
I don't know why I'm surprised by
Countless, dude. Countless. It was incredible. Just a bunch of sissies clear across the board. It was great.
It is laughable though to think that FanDuel has any control over that whatsoever, or should be held responsible for that in any way. But
his ownership was 50% on the main slate, and then after he got hurt, it dropped to 48%. Explain yourselves.
Oh, is that what they were saying?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like it didn't add up correctly the first time. Who gives a shit?
See, that's awesome. Right. So like 2% of people were given ultimate late swap ability after a game started. Right. Yeah. That's what they're suggesting.
Dude, it was. I'm trying to scroll back into the time where like I got to just some of these utter whiners at FanDuel. What's going on here? Why was Isaiah Jackson listed as game time decision, but he's not playing? Y'all keep robbing us, man. It's like, no, he got that now because he got hurt immediately. You literally don't even know what happened. And you're immediately tweeting and blaming someone else. You did zero research to figure out that he got injured as he started the game. These are the type of things that I live for. It's why I know that I can continue to play this with some success.
It's crazy because like, if he got hurt 7 minutes into the game, he still got hurt. It just so happened that it was literally 22 seconds into the game. Nothing you can do about it. It is what it is. And if you played Taylor, you probably felt pretty good about it, right? So
at FanDuel, y'all wrong for that Isaiah Jackson stunt. 50% ownership. Y'all knew he wasn't playing.
What?
Yeah, these are people that have no idea what they're doing. None whatsoever. They will end up winning. They think that FanDuel and DraftKings were somehow behind some sort of gigantic scam to make Isaiah Jackson be more owned, and then he wasn't playing at all, even though this man stepped on the floor and actually started the game.
So essentially the worst business model imaginable.
Right. And for the record, FanDuel doesn't give a shit what happens after lock.
No.
They already have the money.
But I'm saying, could you imagine like trying to trick 50% of people into playing a guy that they know isn't playing? I mean, it's
which has nothing to do with them. Like,
well, of course,
FanDuel doesn't care if he plays, he doesn't play. It doesn't matter. When the entry fees are in, they've collected their money already.
Also, yeah, exactly. Also,
their entire ruse is useless.
It doesn't. Right. They don't care unless you think they're intentionally propping up certain players to win more money. All the money, all the rate that comes in on every entry is exactly the same, no matter who it comes from. It's all green.
It's not like sports betting where the book could have too much money on a side. and there is an outcome where it's better for them.
Sure. Yeah.
None of it matters for FanDuel or DraftKings.
Cantor 33. What's up, bro? He says, I moved the meeting so I could be here for a throwback Loughy Josh show. Tell the Mats they can F right off and wait until 11:45. Last thing, and then let's get into this Minnesota-Detroit game where we can talk about Cade Cunningham's either 15 or 59 fantasy points. Did you see my tweet by any chance yesterday about a local restaurant?
No.
Jordan, did you see it? I don't know.
I'll probably have to unmute you.
We probably can. Funny. You liked one of my tweets like a day ago, so you're full of shit. Okay, so a local restaurant of mine put out, there's like coupon clippers that they put in everyone's mailbox.
Yes.
So I must have thrown mine out, but I see something on Facebook and I'm thinking it's a joke, and then it turns out it's real. So they do like a Valentine's Day thing. Yeah, Brian. So a lot of you guys saw this. And they got like a hoagie on it, a dessert. They're trying to get people for Valentine's Day. It's not a pretty good restaurant. And then a cup of cappuccino. And in the cup of cappuccino is Big Wood. Big Wood? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Full cock out, too. And oh, yeah. So it got through like the editors, it got through all of this. They sent it out to every house, thousands and thousands of houses, Josh.
Oh, he's like the froth in the cappuccino.
Zoom in though. The whole thing is there.
Wow. I don't even have to zoom in. He's bigger than the coffee cup.
That is 100% real. 100%. They even sent out Jordan put it on the screen. They even sent out an apology on Facebook. So, yeah, I mean, one of the greatest things. Did they do it on purpose? They said it 100% wasn't, but if it was, it's the most genius marketing tactic ever, because there's so mane people now that are like, hey, this is great. I'm getting food from you tomorrow. Hey, I'm driving an hour to come get food.
Is that the food? Because that is a hell of a meal. Come and ask for the cappuccino on the Clipper. Oh, man.
All right.
Yo, whenever I'm home again, I want to go there. Yeah.
See what I mean? They say,
and I want to buy. I'm gonna get a T-shirt of him.
They say it was an accident, but I'm not sure it was.
I mean, if it's not an accident, somebody's gonna lose their job for doing that.
Oh yeah.
Whoever they paid to be their graphic designer. It's like that's an outsourced job. So either they asked to do it, or some graphic designer was like, all right, I'm gonna put this guy in the froth of the cappuccino. It's
some disgruntled person that just doesn't care about their job, or they just pulled it as like a stock clip of cappuccino and somehow got through there.
Yeah, maybe.
But I mean, is that not the greatest thing ever?
You know how people are like really good at latte art?
Yeah.
I wonder if someone can actually do that.
Oh, like the hearts and the crazy stuff?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Could you? Oh, man.
I would order that.
Me too, because you know what the best part of it all is? When you got to take that first sip.
I know.
And it just taps your lips and then it disappears.
Knocks against your nose.
Yeah. It's already in your the moment it hits your lips, it's in your stomach too.
Yeah. But is that not the best thing ever? Like, did that actually happen?
That was incredible. It's incredible.
All right, let's talk.
I can't wait to send that to other people.
It's great. And let them know it's 100% real. Like, there's nothing fake about that.
You do not own it though, correct? Like what? You threw yours out.
I wish I didn't, man. That would be on, no joke. That would be on my wall or something.
You gotta hit up your neighbors.
I know. That's a good, you know what? That's a good call. I will. So
at least you talk to yours.
People in the Facebook post were offering to buy them from people.
I would rather have that advertisement than their food.
What's that?
I'd rather have that advertisement than their food.
Right?
Like, I'd rather make sure that I had that than whatever they serve.
And last thing, it's such a great move would be to go in, walk up to the counter and be like, what can I get you today? And just only ask for the Clipper and offer to pay for it.
Yeah. I have 1,000 more jokes that I just cannot say
endless,
on the stream right
endless.
now.
We can't. We don't want this to get pulled though.
No, we need to be on like Twitch only for that one.
Yeah. All right.
The channel's gotten too big that if I pick up a strike, that might be like one of the few things I can do to lose my job.
I was thinking, yeah, right. If it's like a blatant strike, like Tom goes back and watches it and he's not going, I don't know where this came from.
No, this is one of those where I just need to shut up.
Yeah. I mean, the joke you already almost made at the top of the show would have been rough. But
so like to me, that one's on other people. Like,
oh yeah, right. So I agree. All right, let's talk basketball. Minnesota and Detroit.
15 minutes in.
Yeah, Minnesota and Detroit. The Timberwolves 7-point favorites, 228 total here. Beverly returned. He's questionable again. I'm just assuming that he plays, but with D'Angelo Russell right now, I really don't know. I mean, the last time he's played was the 27th. He's got calling it a lower leg injury. I think it's entirely possible that he sits again today. The interesting thing to me, Josh, and I know Edwards is coming off a brutal game, but a couple of bad games, but Edwards does have a stellar ceiling and he plays huge minutes. If Russell is out, and we see that most of these prices haven't actually moved for these top price guys in Minnesota, any interest in getting there against a really bad Detroit team?
I'm interested in him even if he's in.
Okay.
I put Russell in. I actually think Russell on FanDuel at 7K is the best play in Minnesota if he's able to play. I give him 32 minutes, but I have Edwards in for 34 minutes. I have Russell on the floor. I pulled all the rates for every game that Minnesota's played where Towns, Edwards, and Russell are all active. And, we've got Edwards at 27% usage this season, 15% assist rate, 9% rebounding rate. He's like a neutral, true shooting guy. We got him at 9% ownership on FanDuel, 14 on DraftKings. I will end up having more than that. I tend to lean a little higher on Edwards in general, but 1.14 FanDuel points per minute over the last 30 days. That's exactly where I have him for today. And he's in a matchup against Detroit that's not exactly going to slow him down. So I'm very much team Edwards, but I also want to get to Russell if he's available today. That 7K price on FanDuel is just too cheap.
It is. I mean, look, Minnesota, just from an overall fantasy standpoint, you do have the three big guys, and that can make it tough to figure out which one you're rostering each day. So I do think if you were to take Russell off the floor, it obviously just makes Towns and Edwards more appealing because you don't have anybody to come in and soak up considerable usage there. But I think you're right, especially against Detroit, just a bad team. There's a lot of arguments that you could be made for. Hey, it could be made for even if Russell does play, I'm willing to get there. But if he is out, are you giving significant bumps to Edwards and to Towns?
I wouldn't say significant, but it's clearly still an extra point or two of usage, which ultimately ends up being significant. So yeah, Edwards probably goes from like 1.15 to 1.2 or something fantasy points per minute. Minutes. I don't want to say that his minutes get more secure, but like it's more likely for him to play 36 than 30 if Russell happens to be out. Either way, yes, I would like to get slightly more Anthony Edwards for sure. It's probably not changing all that much for me for Towns, but I would certainly be getting more rather than less.
What do you think of the rest of Minnesota here? We could talk about if Russell's in it, it just gets ugly. Even if he's out though, I'm not necessarily sure what we're getting. Also, how many minutes is Beverly going to play, right? He only played, what did he play? Like a minute in the fourth quarter last game. They were down by 30 points at one point in the fourth. So a lot of starters just did not come back out, including Anthony Edwards. So I think you would see like Jalen Noel's minutes come down, or at least some of these bench guys, if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could always get to someone like Vanderbilt, 5,900 on FanDuel, 5,500 on DraftKings. He got power forward center there. Noel could fall into enough time. He's going to pull a little bit of ownership. Naz Reid, always the type of guy that you could take a shot at because he's only a Karl Anthony Towns extra foul or rolled ankle away from getting extra time, and he gets the power forward eligibility. There are no other priorities here. Even if Russell ends up out, I don't think it actively changes anybody all that much. You would need to see Beverly out as well to start unlocking the Jalen Noels and potentially like Jordan McLaughlin's of the world. McLaughlin's played 27 and 26 minutes over the past two games one of which had Beverly back. So they appear to be going to him again. That might just be a Russell thing. So we just have to see that. And luckily for us, this is a 7 o'clock start. So we're going to have all of this information.
It's the only 7 o'clock start as well. So with Detroit, man, Cade Cunningham, he's not getting a lot of ownership today, but I just want to start here and get your opinion on this guy, because you seriously, maybe not, I won't say Demo, but really one of the most volatile players in the league right now. He'll come out there and rip off like 17 shots and make one of them, and he'll just keep firing. So that's good, right? It's good to see the usage, but you're a bad team already. You don't have great players surrounding you. He is really, though, as hit or miss as it comes, Josh.
He really is. It's been a lot of up and down, and the ups are really, really up. I'm really liking what I'm seeing out of Cade as of late. He started off the season, it wasn't looking all that good. I really do see him rounding into form, but it's going to be peaks and valleys. This should be a peak. I'm shocked that his ownership is as low as it is on FanDuel or DraftKings, but I assume that's just because of the Q tag. If he's in, I think he's one of the better plays of the day. He showed up in my sims across both sites 20% of the time. We're talking about the biggest usage rate on the team, basically the biggest assist rate on the team. It's basically him and Corey Joseph that are flipping the coin there. But as long as he's available today, he will be one of my more owned players, because it's a massive pace up spot here against Minnesota. And it's not exactly a defense I'm worried about. Timberwolves are the third fastest team in the league as of late. That is very interesting to me. So it's not just Cade that I want to get to, though. I want to get to like 20. I mean, we're seeing people get to like 20% of Jeremy Grant. I think that's totally valid. I think Saddiq Bey is always probably a little bit more interesting than the public. He's not pulling as much ownership as I expected him to. I think Stewart's fine. I think oddly enough, I think Corey Joseph is fine. If you ever think Kelly Olynyk is going to get more than 20 minutes, he's 4,500 on FanDuel Power Forward Center, 5K on DraftKings Power Forward Center. If you're ever going to be getting to a bunch of the Pistons, a 6-game slate against the Wolves is kind of that day.
I like it. Minnesota plays at a top 5 pace too. So, I mean, this should be a relatively fast paced game. Both of these top 10 pace teams in the league. So I have no problem with it. I mean, look, but with Cade though, all I was pointing out earlier is you have to just be aware of the fact that Cade can completely sink your lineup, or at a mid 7K price point can be huge for you as well. It's just very, very, very often we're getting these horrible games and then we get really good games. It's like the most basic analysis ever. He's just like capable of giving you sub 20 fantasy points at that price point. You don't see that too often from those guys at that salary.
No, it doesn't help that he's on a team that basically has no help around him.
Well, that's what I was
whatsoever.
saying earlier. Yeah.
It should help now that Grant and Olynyk are back. Those guys are just going to, like, I think Olynyk is actually really important for the Pistons. To be able to get that extra bit of space, to be able to play 5 out with Cade should allow him a lot more breathing room to get stuff done. Because not that I don't like Isaiah Stewart, because I think he's good, but if you don't have Grant out there and it's Stewart and it's Saddiq Bey at the 4, who's shooting like 10% from 3 this season, Killian Hayes can't make a damn shot to save his life. Hamidou Diallo is starting at the 3 right now. It's just a really rough situation for Cade. So you're going to see some times where he's going to look great. And then there are going to be some times where that spacing gets bogged down and he's just running into a wall no matter which direction he turns.
Anybody else for Detroit, or you want to talk a little Phoenix?
Yeah, Phoenix works. I mean, I don't really know what to say yet if Cade Cunningham happens to be out. It's been a while since we haven't seen him, and now we do have Grant back. So I'm not sure what we would need to see the starting lineup to see what that trickle-down effect ends up being. But I'm guessing like $4,400 Hamidou Diallo would start looking pretty good, shooting guard, small forward. Not sure it would affect the point guards all that much. You probably get a little bit more usage out of Saddiq Bey, but like the Diallo, Frank Jackson duo probably takes a pretty sizable leap into interesting value plays if we happen to lose Cade today.
Okay. Yeah. Pay attention to that. He's got the hip pointer from a couple of days ago. They're on the front end of a back-to-back too. So I don't know. I think you're right. It's possible that he sits this game for sure.
Yeah. I don't know.
Again, not a huge deal right now because it's a 7 o'clock start.
Right. And Phoenix, like for him, it's not, it's a right hip pointer. That's kind of a big deal. Like, if it were, he sprained finger or something stupid, I might look at it a little bit differently. But right hip pointer, you're not gaining anything by playing Cade Cunningham today,
No, and your team sucks. Phoenix is getting healthy now, right? You got Crowder back and DeAndre Ayton back. For a minute there, we were getting some good value out of those guys, but that is not the case now. So ultimately, we have to start with Devin Booker, who I mean, listen, Devin Booker is one of those guys that especially since Chris Paul came into the picture, you're not going to get there most nights with his facilitating, right? He's just not he's not distributing at the same clip as before, but he's been shooting lights out lately. At what point do we get to a price where you go, you know what, maybe Booker's a little bit too much for me, because he's still pretty high owned today?
Now, maybe, but I think the real problematic price for me is Chris Paul. Although I don't entirely know if they care to make the change. So Chris Paul is 10K on FanDuel today. He's been playing massive minutes as of late with campaign out. I mean, we've had Chris Paul average 38.5 minutes over his last 7 games. I think that's scary for Phoenix. Chris Paul has never been in great situations where he's putting a lot of miles on the body, and that works out well for them in the playoffs. And this is everything for Phoenix now, making the playoffs. So it wouldn't surprise me as more of these people start to get back. Like, I don't think Booker stops playing the 36 to 38 minutes, but I wouldn't be surprised if they walked back Chris Paul to like the 32 range, at which point I think his price is slightly too high. I'm not confident in those minutes. I'm not necessarily confident in 20 to 25% owned Devin Booker right now, especially against Atlanta, whether they're putting Okongwu out there or Clint Capella. I mean, that's some solid defense that should be anchoring that team. Hasn't totally worked out like that for Atlanta so far, but it has when Okongwu's out there. I don't mind Booker as much. I'm nervous about Paul. Now that Crowder and Ayton are back, I see Bridges, Crowder, and Ayton as like 5 to 10 percenters on a day like today. Nothing too priority-wise. I don't see anybody that immediately stands out for Phoenix, and I'm a little against the ownership that Booker is getting.
Yeah, I was actually surprised by that as well, especially given that, a guy like Devin Booker, not long ago, you were getting him at a low 8K price point, right? Like back maybe 10, 12 days ago. Now you're paying, I won't say a premium for him, but Devin Booker's one of those guys. How do you approach players like that where, they might be in that 9K range, right? Like that mid 9K range, and their peripheral production isn't awful, but they need to rely on scoring. So you get a lot of those, I won't even say low floor games, but just a lot of those games where it's like 30 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, and you're still paying, 9,300 for them.
Yeah, it doesn't really affect the things that I do, but I definitely feel different about someone like Booker, who is so scoring dependent. Like in my model, if I sort by percentage of fantasy points based on scoring of everybody that is in my entire, like everybody that exists in the entire space of the NBA, Devin Booker ranks 10th. And in theory, I can take out Marcus Howard and JJ Redick from the 2 people that are ahead of him. I mean, he's one of the most scoring dependent players in the league. So the lows are low, because if he doesn't have 30 real points, there's nothing else coming along for the ride. Here's the trivia question for you. And this guy is fully active in the NBA. Who do you think has the biggest percentage of fantasy scoring based on only points?
Okay, well, first of all, is it like just some secondary role player?
I will say that it is a role player, but he has been a fully active role player on the teams that he has been on over the past 3 years.
Is he a starter?
No. Periodically. He got traded recently, if it helps.
My brain's not functioning right today, so there's like a very little chance.
There's a 0% chance that you naturally land on this answer, but the answer is Bryn Forbes.
Oh, I would not have guessed Bryn Forbes. Yeah,
no, but like he's an actual NBA player that plays.
I mean, he's had games where he has 28 fantasy points because he scored 25 points. So yeah,
here's the list: top 10: Bryn Forbes, Frank Jackson, Bojan Bogdanovic, Colin Sexton, Marcus Howard, who doesn't really count here, Doug McDermott, Ben McLemore, Zach LaVine, JJ Redick, and then Devin Booker. So obviously Redick doesn't count any longer either.
Wow. Okay. So that's why I asked if he was a starter, because my guess was going to be Bogdanovich.
Okay. Yeah.
Because Bogdanovich has, how many games has he scored 30 and had 32 fantasy points? Like, that guy could finish with less fantasy points than, well, not on DraftKings because of the 3-point bonus, but a couple turnovers, and no peripherals at all. But yeah, okay. So it's Bryn Forbes. Interesting.
Do you want to know who the opposite is? The guy that scores the most fantasy points without scoring?
Gobert. It's got to be a big.
I assume he's close, but he scores too much for that.
Drummond,
but you're on the right track.
Drummond, Gobert. Now there are some guys out there that are just like straight rebounds. Like if DeAndre Jordan was still playing significant minutes, it would be him probably.
DeAndre Jordan is basically like the Devin Booker of this conversation. He's like around 10th.
Yeah.
The first guy is sort of former Sixer. And then the second guy is the real name in this list. People are getting it in chat right now.
Are they?
Well, people are getting the second name that matters. Draymond is second.
Dre. That makes sense. Yeah, Dre's
the actual answer for me though by 0.2% is Nerlens Noel.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he blocks shots. He's not
doesn't really score, a lot of rebounds, a lot of blocks, a lot of steals.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. All right.
The Draymond one makes obvious sense. I mean, he does literally everything else.
Draymond is an obvious one. Yeah. And like Gobert can score a little bit though, but
yeah.
All right.
Fun to talk about.
I like that stuff. So let me ask you this though, if Trey doesn't play, and I think I'm not saying he won't play, but I think there's a good chance he doesn't play. I'd probably put it 50-50 at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I have him in because he's Trae Young, and it's easier to put a star in and take him out than vice versa. But it wouldn't surprise me if he didn't play here.
It's not a great matchup. Phoenix is getting healthy, but we did see it, and I find this interesting. Bogdanovich played 31 minutes last game as the first guy off the bench. Had a solid outing, right? And I don't think you're going to get 30+ minutes from DeLon Wright anytime. So I would go back to Bogdanovich, whose salary has barely moved if Trae Young is out.
Yeah, 4,900 for Bogdanovich if Trae Young is out. Point guard, shooting guard eligible on DraftKings. He's $6K on FanDuel. I think that's still fine, but he's clearly a better option on DraftKings than he is on FanDuel. Hunter's minutes firm up, and he's probably playing 30 to 32. He's going to look good at 4,400. The problem is they're deep. They have so many different options of the guys that could actually pick up the extra 4 to 6 minutes and the extra shots. So like, I kind of just like everybody from Atlanta incrementally better. You want to go to DeLon Wright. He's 3,600. You have to take the chance that DeLon Wright's going to play 28 minutes in a close game and potentially close if things are going well. At 3,600, you have to roll those dice. I don't necessarily know if that's a great thing or if it works out, but because of his price tag, he's unavoidable on DraftKings.
Is that it?
And by the way, if Trae Young is in, he's the guy I like the most.
What? Really? Okay.
He's definitely on FanDuel because he's only 9K. That one's not up for debate for me. 9,900. I think that he, Collins, and Hunter all look relatively similar compared to their salaries.
Fair enough. And we talked about like Anthony Davis yesterday with LeBron out. Davis played another 37 minutes in that game. 30 and 15. So we'll get to that. Like if LeBron's out today, I'm jumping around, but I say this only because there are a decent amount of players in that Trae Young price range on DraftKings that could look pretty good. So we'll get there.
Oh yeah. There's no shortage there today, oddly enough.
Chicago, Toronto, hit that thumbs up too. We're at 116. Love it. Appreciate you guys. A lot of you guys just come in here and hammer the thumbs up regardless of us saying anything. So I always like you the best.
Yes.
But if you haven't, I get it. It's a mistake. You can atone for your sins right now. only takes a second. Chicago, Josh. That would actually surprise me, the Zach LaVine bit that you mentioned about him being so scoring the bench. I'd be super interested to see what it was last year before DeRozan and when his team looked a whole lot different.
He kind of is a little bit different here because it's not so much that he's scoring dependent. It's that he scores a lot.
exactly.
It's not that like there's not an absence of him doing other things. That's just a testament to how much he actually scores.
It's just a percentage of fantasy points. So yeah, even if your peripherals aren't bad, but you score a ton, it's going to skew it. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. DeRozan and Vooch and Levine, who is currently probable for this game. I don't think we have to worry too much about him being absent. I say to Adam all the time on the deeper dive, it's one of the weirdest teams in the league because these guys are consistently priced almost identical to each other, all three of them. So you have to distinguish, or you have to make that that call on which one of these guys or how many of them do I like today? How many will I play? How many am I willing to play together? Because you're paying the same price on all three of them, at least on DraftKings.
Yeah, they are tricky to separate on a day-to-day basis. It's usually hardest to get to Vooch because center is just the hardest one to individualize. But if DeMar's going to be just power forward, like it's not all that much better. It's clearly easier to get to Levine at 8,900 shooting guard small forward, but it's really easy to get to Levine where he's 7,700 on FanDuel.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's unquestionably the best option here. I do like Vooch. I'm happy to get there. I think he's a little over-owned across, or at least on FanDuel where we got him at 25%, but I'm happy to get to Vooch. Levine is my key piece here. DeRozan looks good. $4,800 Kobe White on FanDuel is pretty appealing to me. I got him in for 29 minutes. I think there's some upside in that number so far today. I think Dosunmu, while he's going to play 36 minutes, he's still just a 0.75 fantasy point per minute guy on the reg. I can't totally want to force him into my lineups, but he's certainly going to work his way into a few. Really, any one of those first five guys I think are pretty viable, but I got to start with Levine.
Is anyone a priority here?
Levine on FanDuel is a priority for sure.
Okay.
Nobody on DraftKings is a priority. I don't have anybody in my sims at above 10% on DK, so I can't say that anybody's a priority there.
Okay. What about on the other side with Toronto, where you've got, Siakam, Van Vliet, Anunoby, Barnes, Trent Jr., who had been on an absolute, he is still on an absolute tear. He scored 30 plus points in 5 straight, not fantasy points, 30 plus points in 5 straight games. He's hit 5+ threes in 5 straight games. And Trent has been cruising lately. And if we know anything about Nick Nurse, he just plays his starters so many minutes that you want to talk about it being hard to distinguish between which one's better than the other, even if you're just using price salary. With this, it kind of matters less, just in the sense that if they're all going to play in a competitive game upwards of 40 minutes, not every game, but often, then you're still getting 40 minutes from them.
Yeah. So on DK, they're all basically the same relative to salary. I want all of them. Siakam, Van Vliet, Anunoby, Barnes, Trent. I'm going to have a lot. They all showed up 15% or more in my sims, upwards of 20 for Siakam. I don't really have anything that separates them. I can say that the total of my sim odds for those 5 guys is 100%, which means you're basically expecting at least one of those guys to be in an optimal lineup. You kind of have to have one Toronto guy or more in everything that you're doing today. I think you're building wrong if you don't really have one. And I can't really separate them on DK. I think OG Anunoby is too expensive on FanDuel to be the same sort of priority. Same situation for Gary Trent. They are both playable. I will definitely have them, but they are priced up in comparison to where their DK prices are. Anunoby is $900 more expensive. Gary Trent is $1,000 more expensive. So Siakam, Van Vliet, and Barnes, I think, are exceptional across both sites. In particular, Van Vliet at 8,400 on FanDuel is my key piece here, but you just need all of the starting 5. I also don't hate the idea of taking shots on Chris Boucher. He's got the power forward eligibility on FanDuel and on DraftKings, and I don't think that I'm projecting him all that well. If you look at the games where Siakam, Van Vliet, Anunoby, Barnes, and Trent are all available to play, Chris Boucher has like a 15% usage rate in these games. I gave him that usage rate. I gave him the rest of his normal rates. He still shows up as like a 5 to 10% guy on a day like today, given his positional eligibility, given his price, and given in theory, he's basically like, foul trouble on Siakam or Barnes away from seeing a couple extra minutes. So I'm interested in Boucher if he continues to maintain just 3% ownership on DraftKings.
How many minutes are you projecting him for?
I gave him 22.
Okay.
Now, he has not played 22 minutes in the past 3 games. It was 13 in that triple overtime game, 21 the next day, and 17 and a half. I might be a little aggressive there. I don't think it's crazy to take a shot at him because everything gets better if he has to play more. Because if he's playing more, it means one of those guys isn't playing as much. And I think his natural rates climb.
It's also not crazy to get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up at PrizePicks using the link in the description or the one that Jordan Klein's about to throw into chat right now. I mean, in all seriousness, it actually is crazy not to do that. All you do is sign up at PrizePicks, and they still have the first match deposit bonus up to $100. So when you sign up using the promo code Awesemo, you get $100 first match deposit bonus, and using the link that we have. Free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum, everything on the site, all of our tools built by Awesemo himself, top stack tool, boom bust tool, lineup builder, you name it, right? Like ownership projections, player projections. You can get the Fantasy Cruncher add-on on top of that. It's every sport, not just basketball, but golf and football still with the Super Bowl coming up. We got the best showdown tools out there and anything else, MMA, NASCAR, whenever that comes back, esports, you name it. It's PrizePicks daily player prop based contest. They're pretty sick too. And unlike traditional books, like at PrizePicks, you're building lineups of 2 to 5 players. You're just taking the over under on either. There's no juice on either side. It's just the over or the under. But unlike a traditional book where if you hit 4 or 5 legs on a parlay and you bust on the 5th leg, you get nothing. You still 2x your money or your entry if you hit 4 or 5 at PrizePicks. You still make money back on 3 or 5. So a great way to win money, you 10x if you hit 5 of 5, but also to just sustain a bankroll and continue making money at PrizePicks. They have an insane amount of sports there, and you can use our free player prop tool or Odd Shopper. I think Odd Shopper is the best too. You can get the expected win rate on there. Our projections are on there. It's free. So check it out, prizepicks.com, or download it in the App Store, Google Play Store. Get your free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. When you do and you sign up, use the promo code Awesemo, and we'll hit you up in like 24, 48 hours to get your free month of Awesemo after that. All right. Miami, San Antonio. This is a big one because of the questionables, but I mean, I think Jimmy plays. Loughy, I don't know because he's been out for over half a month. PJ Tucker, Caleb Martin, all 4 of those guys are questionable tonight.
Yeah. I think it's really not interesting to talk about this team given what's available, what's not. I can say this much, regardless of who is in, and I put everybody in for right now. And if that's the case, $8,200 Bam power forward center on FanDuel is 20% owned, and he should be. I think Bam looks good no matter what sort of answers you get here. I think Tyler Hero looks okay on FanDuel. Shooting guard, small forward, 6K. That's with everybody in. Both of those things will improve no matter what if anybody starts getting ruled out. But I don't know what to do with Lowry's status right now. I don't even find him to be all that interesting, even at 6,200 on FanDuel. He's got an 18% usage rate when everybody's available. Everybody sort of just takes a little bit of a hit. If you want to go to Butler, there's nothing wrong with it. I think he's like a 5 to 10%er. I think Bam is the only guy that I can truly prioritize here. But it's hard to really want to dig into anything on Miami because we've got like 120 minutes up in the air today. I think we need an injury report update for Miami. We need a shoot around report for Miami. You guys need to watch the deeper dive and live before lock because this type of analysis at 10:43 in the morning is useless.
Yeah, it is. And 5 o'clock deeper dive, 6 o'clock live before lock, post lock show till 7:30. So yeah, we got you covered. This is an 8:30 game. Kind of weird scheduling today. You have a 7, 2 7:30s, an 8:30, and then 2 10s. So this is an island game at that 8:30 spot, but we might be able to get a little bit more information as we lead up to lock anyway, but pay attention, stick around with us. And also after today's show, Matt Kajeski, Matt Savoca, it's the Pro Bowl edition of the NFL strategy show. And I was told by people, because I've never played these, that there actually is an edge in Pro Bowl. I'll take them at their word. It's very possible. I just wouldn't know. I would not know.
I will never know.
but I've been told by people who have played it that there is an actual edge. So check that show out afterwards. Josh, DeJounte Murray's questionable, but I actually want to start when it comes to San Antonio with the center position because Jakob Poeltl's out, and you got a couple other bigs that won't be out there either. Doug McDermott questionable as well. Do we get some front court value from the Spurs this evening? Got to be Eubanks, right?
Assuming Eubanks starts, $3,300 center on DraftKings is just the best value play you're going to find. I gave him 26 minutes. That could probably go as low as 20 and as high as 32. But even at 20, he is still a good value play today, just in general. So Eubanks will transcend this entire slate. I just assume that he has to play those minutes. Thad Young has only played center this year. He basically does not have a minute played at any other position other than the 5. I don't know if he plays 0 minutes today or the straight backup shit. He could start and I wouldn't be shocked. It's the Spurs and Pop. So we have to pay attention to Thad Young. He's 3,500 and a power forward on FanDuel, the flat 3K power forward center on DraftKings. I gave him 16 minutes. I am interested in Thad Young and I want to take some shots. That is a risky proposition unless you get him in as a starter.
Is it also fair to say, though, whoever starts at the 5, you're going to have decent amount of them?
Whoever starts at the 5 for the San Antonio Spurs is likely the best value on the entire slate, no matter what news we get for the rest of the day.
And we currently have Drew Eubanks as the highest owned player on the slate, rightfully so.
Like, if Thad Young happens to get named a starter over Eubanks, I think Thad Young is an even better option than Eubanks.
Okay. I can see that.
He's got the power forward eligibility, and that is massive for your flexibility.
The second highest owned player on the slate right now is Derek White.
And isn't he questionable as well, or am I off? Am I getting that wrong?
I don't see it. DeJounte Murray's questionable.
Okay. I could have swore I remembered a Q tag next to both of their names when I woke up this morning, but it has been a morning. So, obviously, if DeJounte Murray happens to be out, Derek White's going to look pretty
Doug
damn
McDermott's probably who you were thinking of. He's questionable too.
Maybe. So I assume the Derek White ownership is being driven by the Q tag on Murray. So I'm having trouble, like, if they're in, I think Derek White is actively a bad play at 30% ownership. I just don't think he's actually 30% owned if Murray happens to be in. But no, he looks good. Like, I would say that I think if they're at full strength, I think Derek White is the second best play on San Antonio behind whoever the starting center is. So it's not like I don't like him already. When Murray leaves the floor, White is significantly a better option. So I think that ownership is totally valid. We're also seeing Devin Vassell pull about 18% ownership across FanDuel and DraftKings. Seems to me he's going to be the guy that takes the biggest bump if DeJounte Murray happens to be out there. That all makes some sense to me. If we lose Murray, you bump up White aggressively. Trey Jones probably moves into the lineup a little bit more. If we happen to lose McDermott, then you're probably, because I don't think that we have Keita Bates-Diop in this one. If we lose McDermott,
he's confirmed out.
Then you're bumping up Vassell. You're bumping up Keldon Johnson potentially for an extra minute or two. Like, his minutes aren't really going anywhere. He's the other interesting piece. They could move to a Keldon Johnson at the 5 situation here, and I think that would be totally viable for San Antonio. So I do think it's possible that Eubanks and Thad Young don't even split all 48.
It's an interesting team because they do have other guys that are injured here that aren't key players, but would have gotten some roles given that Poeltl's out. Yeah. Like Jock Landale. And
I think Jock Landale would have started.
He started last time when Poeltl was out on the 15th and Landale played 26 minutes.
Yeah. They would have looked really good.
So I think Eubanks probably, if he's in the starting lineups, is going to give us a lot of minutes. He's a 1 fantasy point per minute guy. So all of it makes sense. But there's a situation you monitor here because if DeJounte Murray's out, then everything changes for this entire slate.
Yeah, you need to pay attention to whether or not DeJounte Murray is playing, McDermott to a lesser extent, and then you need to know who the starting center is for the Spurs, and you want to play that guy a lot. And you still want to probably have a little bit of the guy that doesn't.
2 games to go. Before we do it, I want to let you know 2 things. We have free content on the site. I already talked about all the other tools. And if you want to sign up, awesemo.com/join, you know how to do it. Whether you want to do a week, a month, a full year, one sport, every sport, doesn't matter. We got something for everybody, no matter what style of player you are, what your budget is. All the tools Awesemo himself has built, and we've seen a lot of winners from those tools. So you would enjoy them. But if you're not ready yet and you just want to check out some free stuff, NBA ownership projections and NHL player rankings are both free today. So feel free to get in on that. You don't need a sub or anything. We open them up for anybody that wants to use them. Sacramento, Golden State, Josh, the Kings. We're waiting on De'Aaron Fox again. He is on the second of a back-to-back, didn't play yesterday. So do you have any lean here?
No, I don't. To me, there's no, we have to wait for the injury report and any news that we're going to get from them. I left my rotation for Sacramento to be the exact same thing that I had yesterday, because that's all you can really do on a back-to-back. Like, I have no reason to suspect that I have any idea what they're going to do with Fox or potentially Bagley in this one. If it breaks the way that it does, like, I do have Fox in. I want to play a bunch of Harrison Barnes. I want to play a ton of Rashawn. I want to play Rashawn Holmes no matter what. He's 5,400 on FanDuel, gets the power forward eligibility. He's 5K on DraftKings, doesn't have it, but I love the value option there. I'm happy to get to a lot of the pieces of Sacramento. The guy that I think is really interesting, oddly enough, is Chimezie Metu. It'll at least be a little important if Bagley is in or out. But if Bagley continues to be out, I've got Metu in for 23 minutes. He's $100 above the minimum on FanDuel today. It's a 6-game slate, so value is a little scarce. He's not pulling any love. I like him a lot more at the 4% ownership if I'm playing a large field GPP. He's not like a cash option or anything like that. But Hield, Holmes, Barnes, Halliburton, Fox. I mean, they're 13-point dogs, and this one doesn't look all that great for Sacramento against Golden State, but the prices are starting to get to a point where I think you can get to these guys a little bit more than the public is.
I feel like right now our projections are accounting for Fox potentially being out from an ownership standpoint.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, Fox has no ownership right now, and he should.
He's at like 0.7. What do you think he'd be at if he plays?
8 to 12%.
7%.
Yeah.
It can't be that high. I mean, but the problem is, if Fox plays, you can't play Halliburton anymore.
Not on DraftKings at 8,500. You can still play him on FanDuel 7,600.
That's a little different. Yeah, 85 on DraftKings. There's no way I'm touching Halliburton although I did say I didn't want to get much Maxey at 76 on DraftKings yesterday with Embiid back, and he ended up playing pretty well.
He's good.
You were there. You were on that one.
Holmes, I'm in for no matter what.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter the status of any of these guys.
The only question for me with Rashawn Holmes is, dude, the playing time is rough. What are we hoping to get from it? It's all over the map.
I gave him 28 minutes.
Okay.
Played 21 yesterday, 25 the game before that, 31 and 28 in the two previous. I don't know. Not that I feel good about 28.
He played 21, but the crazy thing is he wasn't in foul trouble, first off, and the game didn't blow out. They were never down by more than 12 points. So
yeah,
it's kind of weird to me. Holmes and Barnes did not close that game out. So
it's a weird team.
I don't know. I mean, Metu played 23 minutes. He played 19 minutes to close the game. 19 straight minutes.
I mean, they're all over the map.
So did Damian Jones.
I don't trust these teams at all.
Me neither. Yeah, just throwing it out there with Holmes.
It's good for GPPs. Like it allows you to take shots on low-owned guys that might be getting ignored that could very easily just fall into a closing lineup.
No doubt. Wouldn't be shocking if Metu played 25 minutes either with the way that they've run these rotations recently.
No, and you should get a bunch of them at 3,900 if you think he could play 25 minutes.
Yeah. Damian Jones, 27 minutes. Who knows, man? Obviously, we're talking about Bagley's absence as well, so we'd have to pay attention and account for that. But what do you think of the Warriors today? Steph Curry among the other top tier players. Where does he rank for you?
Not high, but like To me, his 34% ownership on FanDuel is ludicrous. I will probably have 0 if he's 34% owned, and I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that doesn't hurt me. But I don't understand that ownership. He has been a 1.22 fantasy point per minute guy over the past 30 days on FanDuel. I have him projected for 1.32 in this game. So an extra 1/10 of a fantasy point. I got him in 12% of my sims. We have him in 34% of lineups right now. I think he is actively the worst play on FanDuel, given the current ownership. On DraftKings, I think he's just sort of like properly owned. We're seeing Klay Thompson pull a ton of ownership at 6,400 and 6K. Your mileage may vary on that one. I don't necessarily know if I need 20 minutes of Klay because I think his ceiling is 28 minutes. I think the best guy that you can get to in this one is probably like 5K Otto Porter, small forward, power forward eligible on DK, 5K.
So if Porter sits, because he actually is questionable for this game.
Yeah.
With that foot, we already don't have Bielitsa. Iguodala's out still. Does anyone benefit enough to become a decent value option? Like, do we see more Kuminga? What do you think?
I mean, Moses Moody got 25 minutes on the 31st with Otto Porter out of that first game. We saw Klay play his normal run. Gary Payton got 23. Doesn't appear to be Kuminga or Damian Lee. So, and it seems like when Klay is in, Poole is just sort of locked into 26 minutes. So I don't think anybody takes a giant leap. You're probably just taking a shot at someone like Moses Moody.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, he's very cheap. It is Sacramento. He would get blowout run as well, I think, in the event that the starters came off. They're 13.5-point favorites. De'Aaron Fox might not play. I don't think it's insane to sprinkle in a little bit of Moody if Otto Porter's out.
No, the problem is he stinks from a fantasy perspective. He's a 0.75 guy. So 24 minutes might not be enough, but he's shooting guard small forward on DK 3,500. So he gets the price and the position piece, right? If Porter ends up out, I don't know how much it really changes anything for any, like Gary Payton might be the guy that's easiest to get to at 3,600.
Yeah. You could be right. I mean, and just thinking about it, you still got Curry and Klay out there. You still got two guys that are going to soak up a ton of usage. I get it. Let's close this one out. Lakers, Clippers, and then coming up right after us is the NFL strategy show. Are you producing that one, Jordan? Yeah, Jordan's producing. Okay. So, last thing, and then we'll get this. We'll wrap this up with the two teams who in Staples Center.
Hey, just to add this, apologies for it. Chris Kirshner.
What's it now? Crypto Arena or something?
Crypto.com. I'm not correcting you for that. Chris Kirshner, the Hawks beat writer for The Athletic, said Trae Young did his morning shoot around with no issues.
Okay. So it's probably likely that he plays.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew it was crypto.com. I knew it the moment I said that and saw Jordan shaking his head.
Back to the crypt.
Yeah, man. All I was going to say, though, is if you're in New York or you're in Louisiana, sports betting is legal now, and sites just want to throw money at you because they assume you're going to lose it, but they don't know that you have Odds Shopper, right? And all of the tools at your disposal to actually give yourself a chance to be a competitive bettor with an edge, whereas other people just spray and make mistakes. Check out all the links down there. Even if you're not from New York or Louisiana, just insane sign-up bonuses, free bets. They're all down there. And we even have articles from Alex to show you how to use those free bets and how to use those sign-up bonuses to get the most out of them, to maximize those. So yeah, if you're new to betting, if it just opened up in your state, or even if it hasn't, but you still want to get in on it, you're crazy not to sign up using those links. Yeah, and yes, it helps us, but it also helps you. Just full disclosure there. Yes, it helps us if you use the links, but you'll also get free bets and big deposit bonuses. So we all win. All right, LeBron. I don't think he plays, dude. I really don't. I think this could be an issue that prolongs his absence. But at least today, I don't think we're going to see him again.
I don't think he's playing today. It didn't even cross my mind. Which generally, when I look at it so flippantly, he's probably going to play just to spite me. But I left him out. I think the more interesting piece is, does Anthony Davis play on the back-to-back? Which I assume he does.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I assume he does. Like, I have him in, if that helps. And we just saw, like, here's the problem. He didn't play on the 28th. And that was a back-to-back a week ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he plays. If he does, he might be the best play on FanDuel. He's 9,600 power forward center against the Clippers. I love him. He was in 30-something% of my sims. I want to get to a ton of AD and Westbrook on FanDuel and like slightly less than a ton of them both on DraftKings today. Malik Monk works on DK, and then I don't give a shit about the rest of this Lakers team.
I still think Davis on DraftKings is very reasonable, though.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, like, he's still the best play here. I have him as a positive leverage play. It's just not the same because you can only get him in so many lineups, one less roster spot, no power forward eligibility. Yeah.
Yeah, that hurts. But listen, he's back. Like, he looks good. And as we said, Westbrook is not the same Westbrook before that's just soaking up all of the rebounds and usage. So, yeah, I expect another solid game out of Davis. It's sub 10K against the shorthanded Clippers. I'm all about it. What about the Clippers, though? I will say Ivica Zubac is questionable for this one. That's really the only news that's still pending for the Clippers.
We've got Amir Coffey, 27% owned on FanDuel. Marcus Morris, 32%. Reggie Jackson's 23 on DK. Terrence Mann's 20 on FanDuel. Isaiah Hartenstein's 14 on DK. If you're that confident in a Clipper, just pick a different Clipper. These guys' minutes are all over the map as of late. Doesn't seem like they seem to care at all who's playing any of their legitimate minutes. There's no way I'm touching a 27% owned Amir Coffey with any sort of volume on FanDuel. I'll have half the field there. He's not good enough on a permanent basis. Same story for Marcus Morris. If he's 32% owned, I'm just not going to have that much. I'll take shots on unowned Luke Kennard at 5K or 4,700. To me, there's no difference between those guys. He just needs to be in the spot where he falls into more minutes instead of not falling into more minutes. He needs the 27.5 minutes or the 30 minutes he got the two previous games instead of 16 like he got last time out. So I find the Clippers to be really difficult. It's a great matchup here because you get that pace up spot against the Lakers. I see them way more similar than the ownership shows. Like, I've got a pretty good cascade of 10 to 15% sim guys here. And we're seeing guys that I think are equal get 6% ownership here. And then another guy that's next to him gets 23. I'm going to have a lot of Clippers, but I think I'm going to be very contrarian in the path that I take.
Well, we almost made it, man. 11:01. I'd say that was quite good, all things considered.
Not bad for not starting until 10:15.
And it was good stuff, though, right? I mean, you gotta give the people what they want, right? Follow Josh at Josh Engleman on Twitter, me at Loughy_D. And shout out to our boy Jordan Klein. As always, great job producing today's show. Fresh haircut. Yeah, Jordan Klein getting things done behind the virtual glass, as Josh would say. Stick around, NFL Strategy Show coming up next. We'll catch you back here soon. Peace.